Hi everyone, I'm so happy you want to crochet your very own Astrid scarf. In this video, I'll guide you through 4 different techniques and how to easily switch from one color to another. In this video, I'll work with Mio's basic wool and a 7mm crochet needle. For my scarf, I use a lot of scrap yarn, so it's a perfect way to use up those leftover pieces you have from previous projects. So it's time for you to get creative and personal because you decide the width, length, design, and color for your scarf. So mix and match with the techniques you learn and don't forget to have fun. But enough talking, let's start crocheting. So let's start with making a slip knot. So grab your yarn, wrap it around 3 fingers like this, cross them over, and from underneath, grab the yarn and pull it through so you get a loop and just tighten it. And there you have a slip knot. Now we're going to work our chain. So we work with a long piece of yarn. So you yarn over, hook it, and pull through. So you get a second loop, hook the yarn again, and pull through. So just work any amount of loops on your chain, and this will be the width for your scarf. So you decide the width, the length, the color, the design, all yourself. I'm going to show you how I work with 4 different stitches. 3 of them are very similar but look differently, so it's quite simple. So here I have my chain, and just a tip, I worked with a stitch called puff stitch. Let me show you what it looks like. This row right here, and I like the design of ending and starting the row and every other stitch in between with single crochet and every other with puff stitch, just so I get a nice clean edge. And that way I needed an uneven number on my chain, but that is up to you. That was just a design preference. Okay, let's start. Here you have your chain, and we're going to start working with single crochets. So from the second loop from your needle, that will be the first stitch, or that's where we crochet the first stitch. So if you want to keep track of the counts or count your loops, this is where you start counting. So 1 loop will always fall out when you start crocheting. So second loop from the needle, we dive down, we yarn over, hook the yarn and pull up. So you have 2 loops on your needle. Yarn over again, pull through both loops. There you have a single crochet. One more time, we dive down in the loop, hook the yarn, pull it up, so you have 2 loops on your needle, yarn over and pull through both loops. So just make single crochets, 1 in every loop on your chain, all the way to the end of the row. And when you get to the end of the row, I'm there in a second, so I make my final stitch right here. So I make my final single crochet, and then we always end a row with making 1 more chain. So 1 more, and then we flip our work. So when we make single crochets for the rest of the project, you work in the top loops like this, so up here. So you dive down right there with your needle, so you get those 2 loops like this. You yarn over, hook the yarn and pull through. So again, you have 2 loops on your needle, hook the yarn and pull through both loops. So this is how you work your single crochets. And let me show you how to do a twist on the single crochet, so you get a little bit of a different design and add some fun texture to your scarf. So remember, we use the top loop like this for our single crochet, but if you only work in the back loop like this and make your single crochet, you get a stripe and a different detail like this. So you can see the difference. I will show you here on my scarf. This is the single crochet in the back loop. It adds some nice and fun details. Very simple, but a lot of fun. Okay, I will end my row. And I will show you in the next step how to make waistcoat stitch. Very similar to the single crochet, but we put our needle down in a different place like we did with the back loop. All right. So let me show you how we do the waistcoat stitch. So remember when we did the single crochet, we worked our crochet needle up here in the top loop. But for the waistcoat stitch, we're going to work just below where there is a V, right there. So for the first one, we dive down in the first V right here, like this. I hook the yarn and pull it up, just like you do a single crochet. So you have 2 loops around your needle, yarn over, hook the yarn and pull through both loops. So I'm going to dive down in the next V, right there with my needle, pull it through, hook the yarn and pull it up. So you have 2 loops around your needle, yarn over and pull through both loops. The next one right there. And a tip is to crochet quite loosely so it's easier to work your waistcoat stitch. Or if it's too hard for you, maybe you can add a little bit of a bigger crochet needle. That could also work. But let's work in the next V right here. And I work my waistcoat stitch all the way to the end of the row. And I will show you how we finish the row and continue with the next stitch. Okay, so now I'm at the final stitch of my row. So I have the last V right there. Dive down, hook the yarn and pull it up, make my final. And then we end the row with diving down right here on the edge, like this, and then just make 1 final stitch. So you get the right number of your row, and always count your stitches to have the right amount for the row. And that is the waistcoat stitch. So now you can see we have single crochets only in the back loop, and the waistcoat stitch. Next, I'm going to show you the puff stitch. Let me show you how we make the puff stitch. So remember how I in the beginning of the video said I like to work with uneven numbers for my chain and on my rows? And that is why I like to start my rows with puff stitches. Actually, I make every other single crochet and every other puff stitch. Let me just show you again. So the rows for puff stitches, I start and end with a single crochet, and in between I make a single crochet. Just a design preference. I will show you how we make the puff stitch, and you can decide yourself if you like to make one in every single loop on the row or make every other like I did. But I started with making a single crochet in the first one, like this, and then we make a puff stitch. So start with yarning over, and then I dive down in the top loop like this, hook the yarn and pull it up. So you have 3 loops on your needle. Again, we yarn over and dive down in the same stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up. So you have 5 loops on your needle. And a third time, yarn over, dive down, hook the yarn and pull it up. So now you have 7 loops on your needle. And then we end with yarning over and pull through all the loops all at once. So this is a puff stitch, and you can just continue making 1 puff stitch in every loop. But I like to make every other single crochet. So in the next stitch, I make a single crochet, and then I continue with my puff stitch. That's why I needed uneven number. All right, again, we yarn over, dive down in the next stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up. So you have 3 loops on your needle. Second time, yarn over, dive down in the same stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up. So you have 5 loops, and a third time, hook the yarn, dive down, pull it up, so you have 7 loops, and pull through all the loops all at once. And then I end with a single crochet in the next stitch, like this. But again, that is the design preference. You work it any way you like. So let me just work my puff stitches, single crochets to the end of the row. Now we show you how we finish. So now I make my last single crochet and end the row like this. And remember, we always finish with 1 more chain. Okay, next I will show you how we switch colors in an easy way. So stick around. Let me show you how we switch yarns to a different color, or if you're like me, I'm running out of yarn. So in the last stitch, I hook the yarn and pull up, so I have 2 loops. So either you cut your yarn if you want to switch colors, or like me, you're running out. And I bring in my new friend, this new color. So I just fold this like this, and I work it through both loops, like that. And then I tighten the orange one, so you hold the new yarn tight. And then I make 1 more chain, and then we turn our work and just continue crocheting. We're gonna hide these ends of yarns as we go. So I'm gonna make 1 round or 1 row single crochets. So in the first stitch, I make a single crochet like this around them. And we dive down in the second one, and we work our single crochets or whatever stitch you're working on around those edges of yarn. And if it's too long, you can just always cut it shorter. But this way, you don't have to hide the ends of the yarns later. You can just do it as you go. So just continue crocheting. Then you get nice rows of different colors. So now I've shown you 4 different techniques you can work with. So we have the single crochet in the back loop, the waistcoat stitch, and the puff stitch. So let me just bring in my scarf. This is mine. And I worked with a lot of scrap yarn. So I switch colors, I mix and match with the techniques. So it's just up to you to get creative and make a very personal scarf for yourself or someone you love. So just for reference, the width I used was 25 loops on my chain, and then I just crocheted until I reached the desirable length. So yeah, just get creative, and I wish you good luck. Thank you so much for crocheting with me today, and I hope you enjoy your very own Astrid scarf. We love to see what you created, so please tag us on social media, and don't forget to check out more videos on this website. Hope to see you in the next one.